Welcome to the SCORE Business Showcase. We're in for another fantastic show. We have two great guests with us, Susan and also Paul from Oasis. Why don't you tell us about what does your business actually do?
Okay, so Oasis is a free service that helps families navigate senior care, helps them find home care, or helps them find assisted living and memory care that match their clinical, financial, social, and geographical needs.
Fantastic. And seems like you've been doing that for a while. How long have you been doing it for, actually?
4.5 years. We actually, Oasis is a national franchise, and we opened Fairfield County, Connecticut 4.5 years ago, May of 2016. And then we expanded into Westchester County in New York 2 years ago. Happy birthday. Yeah. So we service almost 2 million people, population wise. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there's a real need for those services today. Tell me, what drew you to do this?
Really, we were
our clients.
We were our clients, yeah.
We went through it, and with both of my folks, and came out of the experience thinking there's got to be a better way, and there's got to be somebody who could help families to deal with this, because as you said, it happens all the time, and we all go through it. There's no dummy's guide to it. There's no way to find out how to do it, and you're experimenting on a loved one, which is just no way to learn something.
And everybody's situation is completely different. Just because your neighbor went into an assisted living and someone went into a nursing home, or someone had home care, everybody's completely different, and the resources are different. So, we're very individualized, personalized, and we can help people navigate. So
it's nice to be able to customize it for each individual family's needs and what their situation is.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a real push in everything, right, to automate and make things just automatic today, and that's great for efficiency, but it's not always the best for the proper execution. Sometimes you really need to get down into the nitty-gritty and customize it. And if anybody deserves it, it's a family member or somebody who's in need of care.
Absolutely. Those are our loved ones.
Yeah, so talking about nitty-gritty, what type of challenges did you face and overcome?
Well, we don't come from a clinical background, and we're thrown into places where we have to help people with clinical challenges. So that was definitely a hurdle to try and overcome in the beginning, but we knew it. We knew what our limitations were, so we pieced together mentors and people to help us through that and to support us.
So you talk about mentors and trying to navigate through all of the business learning, right, that you had to go through, because that wasn't your background. How would you say that SCORE helped your efforts to grow your business? How valuable has that been?
Well, just on the clinical side, we had both worked, but we'd never run our own business or frankly built a business from scratch, which is what you're doing. And to have somebody who could give you insight into it just meant there were fewer brick walls to run into. To have somebody who was there willing to give you guidance and learn from their experience and their insight. And it continues to be valuable. We were actually talking about this just yesterday, that we're in a different part of our business now. We're 4.5 years in, the business is successful, and we have new challenges.
Right.
How do we grow? What are the problems that present? Marketing in a COVID time, where all of these things, we're still learning every day and every step of the way. And we just ask SCORE and are the mentors different questions, but they're still just as important to our business.
Now, what have you learned from becoming a business owner these days?
I don't know. It's where you learn it. You don't learn it's challenging. You know that it's challenging, but it's rewarding. I think the biggest thing you learn is that you got to be true to yourself and who you are, especially as a small business owner, because the business is really an extension of you. You know, if you work for a big corporation, that's one thing. But if, you know, we're a literal mom and pop. So Oasis Senior Advisors, it is Paul and Susan. Our email is the Doyles. That's, you know, that's who the business is. And so every decision we make, every interaction we have is as reflective of us as anything else.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, you know, you're the business, and I admire, you know, you as a couple navigating through all this and working together. What has that been like?
So, so I mean, we've been married for 31 years and we've been in business together for 4.5. It's been a very long 4.5 years, but I think initially we understood, or we learned our strengths and what we're both good at. So I always say we have our lanes, and our lanes cross every once in a while because we both can do the same thing, but I might be better at marketing and business development, and Paul is going to be better at other things, right? And so I think once we recognized our strengths, then we really were able to become even more successful and reach more people. So I think so working together has been great, because we can bounce ideas off of each other. We can decompress at night. We do try and, well, it never turns off, but I try to. But just, you know, we have very challenging, complex clients that we work with, complex situation with COVID and the pandemic, and reaching new people. And to be able to work with each other is super helpful. I mean, people who do it alone, it's hard. It's hard work. But
I mean, there is an advantage in it. There's no politics in our business. There just isn't. So that can be an advantage. We have the same agenda. Right. And we knew that coming in, and we know when we leave, we'll still have the same agenda.
Yeah, that's great. That really is, you know, being aligned to what your mission is, and serving as many, you know, people as you can. You're serving a lot of people. How would you say your business has pivoted in any way?
During the pandemic, or just in general?
You know, have you had to pivot over the 4.5 years?
And yeah. Well, I mean, so as we mentioned before, I think we pivoted at least twice. And one is when we come to the realization, when you start from ground zero and you have no sales and no business, literally no business, we open the car door and walk out to the first client or walk out to the first lead source, no business. And to build it into a successful business, now we have to pivot and say, we have a successful business, what next? Simultaneously, the pandemic hits and we're in the healthcare space, and we're dealing with clientele who are frail and are really at risk. And so the entire landscape changed. How our providers have provided their services changed. The needs of the clients have changed. And we're just fraught in these times with the same pressure and anxieties as everybody else. So that's both of those are active pivots right now that we're dealing with.
I mean, so I think also with the pandemic, we were out there and person one-on-one meeting with people, you know, touring with clients at communities. I was meeting with all kinds of lead sources in hospitals and skilled nursing facilities and everywhere. And now, not so much. You can't. So that's been a huge pivot on how to reach people and still be personal. You know, almost like a concierge service. And we've been able to do it. It's just been, you know, thinking outside the box a bit.
Yeah, and constantly.
And constantly, yeah.
Now, did you accomplish your goals that you set out to do? And if so, what's next?
We were just talking about that.
It's a good question. So, I mean, at first we wanted, you know, this was going to be a husband and wife business. So there was no second income. So this business had to support our household. And that was the first, you know, financial burden or challenge or goal. And once we hit that, and this is that other pivot we're talking about, is that, okay, now what? Do you coast? And neither of us are inclined to do that. or do you grow the business, and how do you enrich the business? How do you make it better? So how do you make it bigger? Do you want to make it bigger? And how do you make it better? And that's the next goal, the next challenge for us.
We started to hire a couple of people and, to help our bandwidth.
Yeah.
How would you say that SCORE, now that you're in business and you're established, how did that help you? How did you actually use SCORE?
Well, we stumbled upon, we were already up and running, and I stumbled upon this one of the Simple Steps programs when they were in person. And that was interesting because we'd had a lot of it was behind us, but it was okay because it sort of gave us the idea, okay, we did that part right. Okay, good.
Or this is what we need to focus on, right?
And then what the go forward was. And then at those meetings, there's going to be several people from SCORE that are there that you all chat each other up afterwards and make connections. And then we decided to get more engaged, got a mentor, went in, asked had direct projects that we wanted help with. Those questions we came away with and resolved those. And we're still in touch with them. And SCORE has been really great because beyond the mentoring piece and the support, they've become referral sources, because as you said before, everybody we meet in our generation is our client, the adult children. And so they all see the value in our business, and they come to us as clients and lead sources, looking out for us. And to have that cheering squad is really great.
So they've been extremely supportive of us, as Paul said, but they also encouraged us to apply for the SBA's Small Business Award. So we became 2020 Micro Enterprise of the Year from the Connecticut chapter of the SBA. And it was the encouragement of our SCORE mentors to apply for that, and we won. And we actually just got our award yesterday, which was really kind of, yeah, thank you. So that was, if it wasn't for SCORE, I don't know if we would have thought about doing that. No. Yeah.
There's probably many things out there that small business owners don't know are available, right? So SCORE was a great way to bring awareness to that. And you said that they gave you kind of confirmation on the things that you knew that you were doing okay, right? That you were doing right. And it must have felt good to check off those boxes.
It does.
You also knew, okay, these are the things that I, need to work on. So it sounds like that was, pretty helpful.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, definitely. And then also all the online courses that you can take, which we're definitely we're in the process of revisiting, because we're trying to figure out where we're going to, go to, how we're going to grow. And those courses, there's so many of them that you can access at any time.
When I saw your name, which said senior advisors, I'm in sales, and what happened back in 2000, since I was a little bit younger, a lot of people I was in contact with were seniors. They were older individuals, and when they were talking, I didn't understand what in the world they were talking about. So I took a course that came up that I saw. I became a certified senior advisor.
There you go.
And it was fantastic information. I was better able to understand and also relate and have a conversation with them. How have you used that information in your business?
Well, it's a great framework, right? Because that certification, that certified senior advisor, gives you training in the whole array of issues that you're gonna see when dealing with seniors. As we mentioned before, we're not clinicians, we're not lawyers, we're not financial folks, but we have to cover all of those issues when talking to a family. And so that certification gives us, we describe it as 2 skin levels deep in all of those things. We're not social workers, but we know the entry points for the social work piece, the legal piece, the financial piece, the clinical piece, and who to go to. And that's what we have to go out and get for families is, here are the resources you're going to need. Here are the paths that people in your place tend to take. Here are the professionals you need on your team. Here's how to put your team together. Here's what to demand of your team, what to ask of your team. And then to always have us as a touchstone that's unbiased and again free. So you just come to us and say, hey, how does this sound? Does this sound right? It's not all that different from the business information we're getting from SCORE, that how to navigate senior care. You come to us and we'll make the suggestions and lay out plans. Now, we're not making these choices. These choices are too big and too personal and too important for us to make them for anybody. But having that unbiased view to give families options and talk them through them and talk the pros and cons. And a lot of times just listening. I mean, most of the time we're just listening.
Well, active listening too. So with the CSA, as franchise owners, we were required to become CSAs. And thank God, I mean, and really starting the business, having our CSA, having that base knowledge was incredibly helpful. And then as Paul said, then our job was to meet more and more people so that we can refer to. I'm not going to give you legal advice, but I know these elder attorneys in this area that I've vetted, I've met, I know they're going to do the right thing, and I'm going to refer to you, okay? And that's in all aspects. So that's how the CSA has really helped us to be able to understand and vet, and so that we can refer it to the right people.
I'm curious, when is a good time for a family to reach out to you? Because I don't know if they're reaching out, before they actually need these services, if they're in a panic. What would be a good time for a family to reach out and inquire?
So a lot of times it's a crisis. So the best time is before there's a crisis. We always try and educate people as to, let's have the conversation. Don't wait until mom's in the hospital and can't go home and then you've lost your choices. So the best time is as soon as possible, right?
Yeah, it's with a lot of different things. It's financial planning and retirement planning. You should do it in your 30s and 40s rather than when you're 55. You're going to have better results as a result. But the reality is, as Susan said, most of the times it's in crisis. And that probably, I mean, we're definitely educators, and that's where we can be of value to somebody before they come into this. But being in a crisis and having the expertise and experience that we have makes it easier. It allows families to dial back the tension meter a little bit, and understand they're getting straight answers, they're getting comprehensive answers, they're getting the service they want, because they don't control the situation currently, and they're trying to regain some control over it.
So when you're trying to make decisions in a crisis, oh gosh, that's not, as you said, that's not the best time to do it. So to understand what the wishes are for that older adult beforehand, this way you have, at least a roadmap. I mean, that can change, right? But still, at least you know what they want, right? And so the sooner the better.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You know what? I'm involved with financial services, and so I see a lot of people. And one of the things that has happened over the past 6-7 months is that every week I'm getting phone calls. 2 to 4 people are passing away, and it's been challenging just to get these phone calls. I want to turn my phone off. But what have you done? Because I'm sure you're facing that. What have you done to maybe assist your clientele?
Well, yeah, that's really, it's hard. And a lot of times with that, it is just back to the listening, because people are in a grieving process, whether they're just realizing that someone is going on hospice, or the event that's brought them to the hospital is suddenly brought to light. Well, my mom isn't 50 anymore. She's 88 and she's failing. And what does that mean? And that's a very difficult thing for anybody to take on, and it starts a grieving process, and it's a very challenging and anxious time. So just to be an ear, I mean, that's the social worker piece a bit to what we do.
But also, I think, if you're talking about, let's say you have a couple and sadly one is passed or is very frail, well, what happens to the other person? How are you going to support that? What's their plan? And so we talk about things like that as well. And I think also part of when we're talking with the family is, do you have your healthcare proxy in order? Do you have POAs in order? Always asking those questions so that if there is a crisis, at least it doesn't get, really messy.
You can kind of organize that. And walk them through that. I hear your passion that you really want to help people. You talked a little bit about your own story, and this is what brought you here. How rewarding would you say, being in business in this industry and servicing the seniors? How rewarding would you say is this?
Oh my gosh, it's incredibly rewarding. I mean, we've got families where they say, thank God we talked to you. I wish we knew you existed, or thank God you helped us find the right place. I mean, even just when we get a phone call, to be able to refer them to a person and a phone number that they can talk to and get an answer, that's hugely important and rewarding for people. But then on the flip side, for our business, if we can help a family and get their mom, dad, friend, whatever, into the right place and with no issues. And it's really, we just make it as easy as possible. It's never easy, but you know what I'm saying. It's incredibly rewarding. I mean, families just, they're just so thankful.
Yeah. And you can just hear voices too in the conversation, that the initial conversation is in crisis, and you're talking to the manager of the crisis, and everything's very tense. And by the end of the initial consultation, 95 or 99 times out of 100, that tension it's dialed back, and you can just feel in the conversation. It's like, okay, we've not finished anything yet, but we're in a good spot. And now that person is ready to deal with the challenge, and that's a pretty good hang up. That's you feel pretty good when that phone goes click.
Something that I ran into a couple of years ago. I was watching Facebook Live, and the owner was on, and he was introducing his COO, which was Sheryl Sandberg. And so you might be familiar with this book that she came out with, Option B. And if not, I'd like to share it with our people out there. Option B. How it came about was that her husband was on the treadmill in the morning, and he had a heart attack and actually died. So she was talking with her friend, who was a therapist, and she said, "I want my husband back." And he said, "Well, option A is off the table, but let's talk about option B." And that's how I got started. And the book is not only good for that, but the book was actually designed for facing adversity, building resilience, and finding joy. And it's a big deal because it's on Facebook and people can get in there, but it's good for anybody as far as facing adversity. Think you would enjoy it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is such a needed service, and I really admire what you both do. Can you tell us how people could get in touch with you?
Sure. So they can reach out to us by email, which is probably the easiest, most direct by people's schedule. And that's thedoyles@youroasisadvisor.com. So TheDoylesadvisor.
Got the ad.
Thanks.
Or our website is oasissenior.com/CT-NY, because we're Connecticut, New York. And you can get us that way, or call us.
475-619-4123. That's our Connecticut number, 475-619-4123.
You'll get him.
Our Westchester number is 914-356-1901.
You'll get me.
914. So dial that. 914-356-1901.
Well, it sounds like you can give people a lot of peace of mind as they
Right.
navigate through what could be a challenging situation, and being prepared. Contacting you a little bit earlier and being more prepared would actually help with that.
Sure.
Great. Thank you.
I have another question for you. What skill would you say that helped you in being an entrepreneur?
School of being an entrepreneur. I mean, you think outside of the box, really.
Yeah, I think so. Especially coming into a business we weren't in, it was really suited for that. Is that we weren't confined by the structure of this is how it has to be done. We had our team of mentors. We had the Oasis system behind us that gave us the framing of the building. but everything else was for us. And the ability to step back every once in a while and look at the whole building as opposed to look at just the beam that you're on. I think that's really important, especially a small business, because you're in the weeds all the time. And that expression of working on the business as opposed to working in the business, that's the switch that you have to be able to do all of the time. I'm in the business. That's really important. That's 90% of your time, but you have to be able to step back and work on the business.
What do you think was that moment that kind of clicked for you?
I've never been asked that question, and you don't think it's a moment, but I'll give you a moment that it could be. So at the Oasis has a national convention, as many companies do, and 2 years ago, we won an award, and as they were giving the credentials of the team that had won the award before they announced it, they mentioned our year-over-year revenue growth. And Susan's sitting in this room of 150 people looking around, and I tapped her on the thigh and I said, "That's us."
We're just constantly in the business.
So, getting that recognition from the outside, because I think, to the original, as an entrepreneur, you're never really satisfied, right? And I screwed up today. I didn't get it right today. I got to get back at it tomorrow. And not having a boss, you don't have somebody to pat you on the back. And so to get that recognition, and then the award we got this year from the SBA, because that's outside of the system. That's the federal government recognizing us and saying, great business, good job, and that feels good.
Yeah, as business owners, right? Small business owners, it's easy to be hard on yourself, and getting that outside recognition is truly like, wow, let's celebrate our accomplishments. Let's celebrate our hard work and what we've done. So congratulations on both of those awards. We're really happy for you.
Thank you.
Thanks. And thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
One of the book that I like to share with you is How to Win Friends and Influence People. You both seem like individuals, and especially if you're talking to your audience, you have to be. It's by Dale Carnegie, and it's a fantastic book, especially for our audiences out there too, because when you're in business, you're dealing with people on a constant basis. So thank you very much for joining us on this show, and we appreciate it.
Yes, thanks for sharing your journey with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so to all of our fans out there in TV world and on social media, we thank you, and to your business success.